Welcome to another exciting episode of Payments Agenda, where we dive deep into ever-evolving landscape of payments, technology, and innovation. It's an honor to introduce our guest for today's episode, a true visionary and expert in the intersection of blockchain, digital solutions, and the gambling industry. With a career spanning over 18 years in the gaming sector, he has pioneered groundbreaking solutions reshaping how we perceive and engage with games of chance. Allow me to introduce Nick Hill, a distinguished figure in gambling and casino vertical who has made significant contributions by harnessing the power of blockchain and digital technologies. Welcome to Payments Agenda, Nick.
Well, thank you very much for welcoming me, Dennis. That was a fantastic intro, so thank you very much.
We will be speaking today about blockchain technologies and VR technologies. They are now widespread, so and everybody has access and understanding about that. But we'll talk about later about understanding. Okay,
we can delve into those, but I wouldn't say everybody has a fundamental understanding of blockchain. One of the biggest problems that I have when I go on the speaking circuit, and when I first started doing this about 3 or 4 years ago, was when I said blockchain, everyone goes, crypto. But it's not crypto. There is another side to blockchain, which is the distributed ledger technology. And that's the side I try to focus on. Not so much the crypto side of it, because crypto is just one application that resides on a blockchain. They're very symbiotic, but it is only one. It's the tip of the iceberg. So we focus on more tokenization and the distributed ledger technology, DLT.
Okay. So on another side, another topic what we wish to cover is the future of gaming, because of how the gaming will look like, how it will evolve in 5 or 10 years perspective. Can you share some experience how already gambling operators, the gambling companies in general, can leverage of using blockchain and, for example, for identity verification and player protection and other things around it?
For sure. So when I first started on this blockchain DLT, distributed ledger journey that I'm on, it was trying to find what the application would be for the use of the technology. And I went down many different rabbit holes, and I went down the use for RNG, random number generated, RGS, remote gaming servers, affiliate payment programs, went down various holes. And the one where the true pain point for the gaming and gambling industry was in the compliance aspect and player protection. So working with a number of other companies, we've managed to piece together that the use of the technology to notarize certain interactions between operators and players, and working with third parties at the front end, say like Crucial Compliance, for example, or a CRM provider like FastTrack, we would be able to track the movement of the player, and if the player triggers like a marker of harm, like they're playing too frequently, losing heavily, their behavior has changed in some way, it would trigger this marker of harm. And that's when all the interactions between that player and the operator would go on chain, so that there's an immutable timestamp ledger of the interactions with that player. Okay, so what that means, then it's like, well, so what? So what is, it's encouraging the operator to be more transparent, because you've got this immutable ledger, and should there be any litigation or any recall to use that data, there's a complaint to the UKGC or another regulator, the operator can, rather than giving third-party access to that data, they can give direct access by saying, here's the keys, go and interrogate the data. Because when this marker of harm was triggered, we suggested a time limit. We suggested a set yourself a deposit limit. We made all these suggestions until it escalated, until we picked up the phone, we called them, we sent them an email, the email was opened. This is then how it was escalated. So they've got Mr. Regulator, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, and the regulator goes and checks the data, the information that's stored on the immutable ledger, timestamped, and it says, yes, you did what you said you did. So it's encouraging the operator to be more transparent and open, but at the same time protecting the players. So that's one really good use case that is currently being used in the industry today.
Can you share this data as well with the players, for example, to show how they are protected,
of course,
how much money they spend?
Yeah. Well, if the player requests that data, of course they can see that data. You know, it's their right to actually see that data. It's their data at the end of the day. So yes, of course they can request, and the operators should be able to harness that and give that to them. Especially if they come along and say, look, I've self-excluded, I've got the right to be forgotten. I want to see all the information you have on me, all the interactions. When did you tell me to calm down? When did you request that I set a deposit limit? So they should have that data to hand. If they want to see it, or a mediator wants to see it, then it's available because it's on the ledger. Once data is put onto a distributed ledger and it's time-stamped, it's there forever. You can't suddenly just erase it.
So when it comes to VR technologies, what do you see that's it's a whole new world, right?
Yeah.
It's a booming. There are a lot of games. Kids are crazy about this kind of new things and playing already games, and I clearly see that there's also a future of gaming in general, including gambling. And how you see that blockchain and VR technology will evolve the landscape?
Oh, right, okay, that's a good question, because at the moment, you've got sort of like three gambling routes to market, in my opinion. The first is traditional casinos, where you walk brick and mortar. You walk through the door, you take some fiat currency, you cash it up at the cage, they give you some chips, you go and wager. The next one is online. We all know the online market. So that we've got our mobile device or our desktop, and we deposit some money by traditional methods, credit, debit, wallets, cards. And then also you've now got the new market, which is the metaverse. And I think it's all going to become, there are three routes to market, but they'll all be under one umbrella or one wallet, because the way that tokenization will be used, and there's a big project that I'm working on at the moment, which is called Cashless Casino, which enables a land-based casino to go cashless, so that you're not actually using physical cash to wager in a slot machine or a table game. You're actually encouraging a player to download an app, create a wallet on that app, link a bank account to that app, and that then enables the operator of the land-based casino to then provide KYC, AML, source of funds, all these other checks on the player. But the technology now exists through another company called BitBoss, where they place a small IoT device in the slots. I'm just going to use a slot cabinet, a slot machine. And they put the IoT device in there, and it enables the wallet to interact in real time, money in, money out, with the slot machine, okay? But more importantly, you've then got all this other compliance aspects that are addressed. But once you've converted your fiat into it, tokenized it, and we can call it Caesar's coin or casino coin, that becomes the casino currency that you're using throughout that brick and mortar casino, okay? But more so, this is also linked into your loyalty programs, reward programs, and it enables that land-based casino to manage the responsible gaming behavior of that player. So if you look at the Australian market at the moment, Australia have regulated that every player that's sitting at what they call a pokey, basically it's a poker slot machine, every 3 hours has to have a 15-minute play break. Now at the moment they're monitoring and managing this manually. So they're teaching their casino floor managers to spot, right, Nick's been sitting at that machine now for 3 hours, I've got to go and ask him politely to walk away and go and have a drink and cool down for 15 minutes. But that's quite difficult when you're standing there, hey Nick, you can stop. No, it's going to pay out in a minute. I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to leave. So you could start an argument. It could be taken as a bit of an insult. You think I've got a problem, but if you've got the wallet, you've got control, because at 2 hours 45 minutes you could push a notification to that player sitting in that machine, say, hey, you've been sitting here for 2 hours 45 minutes. It's now time to go and have your play break, and here's a drinks voucher to go and redeem at the food and beverage. And if they don't move, close the wallet. Session stops. Machine's frozen. They come back in 15 minutes time when they've had a little bit of a debrief and rethink. But what you've also got to think of, so you've now got coin in the wallet, you've got this player protection side of things. Now the player can go home, continue playing with Caesars or Win or whoever they may be with, continue at home, okay? Because it's online, because it's the same technology. It's exactly the same technology, just a different delivery and a different engagement model. But now, when you start to think of metaverse, and you can build like an immersive casino experience, mimicking the experience that you see when you walk through, which caters more for a younger demographic of gambler or gamer that's starting to come through, because they're used to playing these shoot and kill games, console games. Now it's like, oh, I'm in an environment where I can go and sit at a slot machine. I can sit at a poker table or a blackjack table and communicate with the guy sitting next to me. Hey Dennis, how are you today? I can chat with you, I can communicate, because you've created that avatar and you're in this immersive world, which is a casino, and you're using the same tokens. So it all comes to the wallet. So to answer your question, that's how everything will reside, I use the terminology, under the umbrella, but the umbrella is a wallet. And it's the tokenization of fiat currency within that wallet, which is a stable token that's pegged to the local currency, whether it's USD, GBP, Filipino pesos, whatever it may be.
I guess what from this is that so essentially needed for gambling operators is to keep pace with all these technologies, and you said as a cross, I would say, channel, if I may say that, cross-channel tokenization is already a thing, right? For brick and mortar casinos, they're trying to go online because some of them, frankly speaking, they lose this game and they're trying to have an online presence as well. So, and because online casino are booming, right? So, and a new thing is appearing, right? So VR casinos, so with maybe augmented reality casinos. So it's like, so this thing has already existed for maybe decades, right? So it's like with online casinos, but with VR technologies, you get an even,
Well, it's a true, what I term it, it's an omni-channel experience.
Yeah.
You've got 3 distinct routes to market to engage with your player, your database, segment your database. You've got your online, your offline, and then your immersive virtual reality. And they're all coming in, so it's omni-channel, all under the same umbrella.
And you need a single system for that, because, for example, if you need essentially to run KYC and ML checks on the brick and mortar, and then you can tokenize this identity, use online or VR.
Yep, absolutely.
And the same thing with the players' funds. So it can be coins, whatever. It's
because you're linking, whether it's GPay. In the Philippines, which is GrabPay, it could be a wallet. You're linking something that you're then transferring fiat currency, or even it could be a cryptocurrency, into the casino wallet. They're transferring it into casino token, which is pegged to the USD or the GBP, as I said, and then that becomes the casino currency. You're never going to get rid of cash in its entirety. But eventually it will start to, we're moving more and more to a cashless society. And cashless has, it was the pandemic that really drove cash or cashless I should say, because nobody wanted to handle physical money, dirty physical money.
This trend is not only in the gambling
it's in
sector,
everything.
It's in everything, right? For instance, a cross-channel and omni-channel payments is no new thing. For example, hotel chains, so they are doing just the same because they have physical hotels, right? So, but at the same time, most of the bookings are made online.
Yeah, of course.
Nowadays, nobody was going to agencies or whatever. It's very handy for hotel chains is to recognize the cards and then use it in inside, for example, for a restaurant, a cafe,
Exactly. But
for miles. Or
yeah,
you
exactly.
can use their
Exactly. It's
so
exactly
bonus
the same.
system and so on. So it's very similar thing what is going on in
Oh,
hospitality industry.
it's very similar because, when you think of like, the integrated resorts, the IR resorts, they are hotels, they are hospitality, they are entertainment. So they want to keep and encourage a younger demographic to walk through the physical doors, to go and see, Britney Spears play at the Sands Hotel or whatever it may be. Yeah, they still want the physical presence, but you can replicate that in the digital world. Whereas you could pay to go and see a virtual entertainment program. I'm going to go to the theatre tonight. I'm going to meet you, Dennis. Let's walk in our avatar world. It's a little bit beyond me. I'm a bit too old for it all now. But, my kids or my grandchildren, this will be where they're living. They're living in the virtual world, and you've got sort of two lives going on. You've got your virtual life and your real life. And probably most people end up staying in the virtual life. I don't want to spend too long in it.
Yeah, maybe it scares.
It's very scary. For me, anyway.
Yeah, me as well. Recently, even read an article is that in 100 years will be different types of people. So they're more consuming digital content and being present in the virtual reality than in real life.
It's like when it comes down to regulation, the people like, governments now and academics are sort of saying, oh, we should regulate, AI, artificial intelligence. Okay, a bit late now. Pandora's already out of the box. It's moving at such a pace. Technology is moving at such a pace that the regulators and the legislators simply can't keep up. We're struggling as a technology enthusiasts like myself and yourself, working at the forefront of technology. We're struggling to keep up because it's evolving so quickly.
Every new technology brings a shift in efficiency. And so we clearly see that it's not waves, it's like peaks, right? So with starting from beginning of last century when with the Harry Ford thing is that he invented how to make machine fast, right? So then it was another thing. It was with PCs and computers. So it's another shift in productivity. And then it was internet thing, right? So there's another shift in productivity. And so we're now facing is VR, blockchain things, and AI will definitely change the landscape of productivity. So will be two categories of people. There you can use AI in order to shift their productivity to be more productive. So I believe a lot of professionals are now using GPT chat for every single moment.
Absolutely.
Just to be more productive, and
it's a changing world, and I was fortunate enough, or unfortunate enough, I was there because I started my sort of career, in the mid-90s. I was working for a telco, and I was selling internet connectivity in 95, 96. And I was going around to businesses in the city of London and sort of saying, oh, you need to get internet, you need email, you need this. And people go, well, what is it? What's email? I say, you need an email address because email will do to the fax what the fax did to telex, eradicate it. Now, we cannot live without email and internet connectivity. Internet connectivity has become like electricity. You just plug into it. But you go back 20, 25 years, it wasn't. It was brand new. But now the dissemination, as it's gone through, it's everybody on this planet uses it because everybody's got a smartphone.
Yeah, without internet connectivity, you could probably lost here in Canary Wharf.
Exactly.
Because you need to find an address or something, right?
Well, yeah, as I was
or pay for it.
as I was something. Yeah, exactly. So, but that's now come on. So, to me, like blockchain, because I've seen the first iteration, internet, blockchain is like the next iteration of internet. It's the next layer of communication. So it's the next thing, and that is going to impact our lives so much quicker than internet. Internet, say, took 25 years to get where we are today. Blockchain will take 5 to 10. Yeah, it's already been around for a number of years, and now it's starting to sort of disseminate. So we will all start be using some form of blockchain technology, some form of tokenization, without us even knowing that we're using it, because it's going to be that ingrained into everything. We'll be using AI technology and machine learning technology without knowing that we're using it. Because, you know, you ask somebody in question, you pick up the phone and try and, you can't talk to anybody in the bank, so you're chatting on to your bank manager. You think you're talking to the bank manager, you're talking to a bot, an AI bot. You know, so it's going to affect all of us.
I have heard that the downside of blockchain technologies nowadays is that it takes some time. So to be on the safe side, so crypto companies, they accept, for example, crypto payment, they have to change, to receive multiple confirmation.
Yeah.
I would say not super professional, from nodes, different nodes, right?
Different nodes, yep.
So it takes some time, and especially, for example, for Bitcoin Ledger.
Can do.
Yeah.
Can do. But
Yeah.
but that technology is evolving very quickly. So a lot of the chains that are out there now are a lot more scalable. They're a lot faster. They're mining bigger blocks, so they keep the cost right down. So, you know, a lot of them, the cost of a transaction, and every posting and recovery from a retrieval from a chain is a transaction. But they can go down to micro and nano transactions. So it'd be like fractions of a cent to do that transaction. So it becomes negligible. It's like internet. You know, you don't go, people say, oh, what blockchains do you use? Does it matter? As long as it's scalable, fast and reliable and cost effective. It's like, do you go along and ask people which ISP they use? It doesn't matter. As long as it's scalable, fast, reliable and cost effective.
Whereas on one hand, for example, if you wish to protect players, gambling casinos, they use brick and mortar casinos. They can use, for example, face recognition thing is to prevent players that excluded themselves to play games. But at the same time, they can spot VP players. So the same technology.
Yeah.
And so what is your thing out in virtual reality? And then everything is trackable, easy.
Yes.
There is a blockchain that you can do. So how do you strike this balance between privacy, protection, players' rights, and technologies?
Well, as you touched on again, it's just using that tokenization and a terminology called pseudonymity. So you sort of anonymize the actual private information of you, the individual. So, for example, there's a project that I was working on, but this was in the healthcare, and it's basically being able to access somebody's health records because it's your property at the end of the day. So, I have a friend. She's Japanese. She lives in Europe, and she wants to get her Japanese health records over to the country that she resides in now. But that's really difficult because they don't just bundle them up and send them over. Now, if you had your health records anonymized or tokenized, they could be passed to anybody because you then decide who you give access to. So I'm living here and maybe I wanted to give my health records to somebody in Spain, for example. I could then give the doctor or the hospital access to my own personal health records because they're mine. It's mine to give to you. That's the same with gambling. You can have almost like a gambling passport. That you can move around from site to site, but because you've set yourself your own tip triggers and alerts or deposit limits or whatever it may be that you've set yourself, that travels with you. And you go to register at another site, you register as normal, but your health record, your passport comes along with you, and then that operator then has to respect those triggers or whatever it is that you've put in place. So it's almost like coming into where we call single customer view, single player profiling across multiple operators. But we're a way off of that because you've got to get the industry to communicate as one, or the regulator says you've got to do this, which they haven't done yet.
What will be at the end? Regulator will say, or industry will come up with the idea.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think is the
Well, I'd like to think that the industry would actually collaborate and communicate as one, and say, look, this is what we're going to do, Mr. Regulator, before the regulator comes down and says, this is what you must do, because then they'll probably use a sledgehammer to crack a walnut. It's a very, very fine line between overprotection and shareholder value, because we are in this to make money. And it's my belief that adopting these new progressive technologies enables you to do, say, 90% of the work automatically, and then using your human resources for the last 10%, the last 5%, because 90% has been done. So we can filter all that away. It's like when you go back to player protection, it's only 5% of the player database that could be at risk. So if we can communicate with them in a positive educational way and keep them on within their entertainment zone, our job's been done. If we can do the majority of that automatically, fantastic. Just by touching and feeling, going out, say, hey, you lost quite a bit of money last night. Why don't you set yourself a deposit limit? Because next time you might not want to do that. You know, it's making sure that you're staying within your affordability zone, within your entertainment zone, and just educating that player to remain there, because it's now, you know, we have enough data through, you know, various companies that I've worked with that can show that, you know, the life expectancy of a casino player online extends quite dramatically if you are interacting with them in a positive way. And then we start moving into what we call sustainable gambling, because you're getting less per month, but over a longer period of time. So typical life expectancy of a casino players anywhere between 6 and 9 months. Okay, and then they burn and churn. They've used all the money up. They burn and churn. Oh, I'm never playing with that casino again, and they go off to the next one. Okay, and so say they've lost 1,000 in 3 months, 6 months. If you educate them and they stay within their entertainment zone, it's been proven that the life expectancy goes from 6 to 9 months to 2 to 3 years. But rather than getting 1,000 over 6 months, you'll get 200 per month for 2 years or 2.5 years. So you've now got a lot more retention. You're yielding more. I shouldn't be saying this too much, but you're yielding more from that player because they trust you more, because you've educated them. And that's the way the industry is moving, because, you know, the industry is still quite a relatively young industry, as the internet is still relatively young. So the industry's only really been going for sort of like 20, 25 years, you know, and 20 of those years, it's literally all been about acquisition, acquiring players, and bonusing players and comping them to carry on playing. Now there's a shift in the industry to understanding the players, retaining players, communicating with them in a positive way, and educating them to gamble responsibly.
Yeah, if you have a tokenized data and a harmonized data, then you can run AI, which is it's a brilliant tool for pattern recognition. Mm-hmm. So you can understand you can run behavioral analysis. You can,
absolutely
do a lot of things for good. I mean,
absolutely. No, it's all for good, because, you know, the whole thing is about becoming more transparent and more open with what you're doing and how you're communicating with your player. You know, as you met with Paul from Crucial Compliance, you know how their product it's all about behavioural monitoring. So as soon as the behaviour of the player changes in any which way, it triggers, as I said earlier, this marker of harm. and then you can interact with that player, whether it be automatically or whether a customer services rep phones them up. Doesn't matter, but you're interacting with them in a positive way to educate them to sort of, oh, slow down. Set yourself a deposit limit.
Yeah, I have heard from Paul is that so they're sending the emails to players. We suspended your account.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Oh, what happened there?
Yeah. So it's definitely won't help the long-term relationship.
No, exactly.
If you receive such a notice from.
But if you notice that they're suddenly spending more, trying to deposit more, so well, hold on a minute, can you afford this? Why don't you just slow down, take a play break. If you're losing more, it's just interacting in a positive way. Thank you for wagering with us. Thank you. It's great that we love you. We notice that you love our product, but just slow down.
Now, speaking about the VR technologies, let's imagine that's the interaction in this VR world. So I think it's even more ways to do it. So you can switch player attention if for 15 minutes for the break, for example, to watch some Christina Aguilera. Virtual concert,
yes, exactly.
whatever. I mean, or do some other things. So it's and easy also to communicate with virtual assistant or avatar, whatever it's called. So, how you see this in 5-10 years?
How do I see it?
And how to build this, because it's a whole new thing, and it's very
Well, there's companies that are already starting to explore and investigate the technology behind it. The technology behind it is pretty much already there, because you've got sort of these immersive worlds with regards to like the Unity platform, which is what the games development platforms. You tend to use those, and they're developing so that you can start to build your metaverse casino or world around those, and you create your avatar, whether you put VR glasses on or whether you're playing via the desktop or even the mobile device, but you are that avatar. You've created your avatar. If you want to reward your player with NFTs for points equal prizes, the more you wager, so it goes back into your loyalty program, so you're engaging them in their loyalty program, and rather than just keep comping them, they go to enter another tournament or another room, or they can win tickets to go and watch a soccer game or whatever it may be. You're engaging with the player in a positive way, and you're rewarding the player for their loyalty and the coming back. And next time you're in Vegas, come into the casino and here's your complimentary drinks or night stay. I don't know, I'm not the marketeer. But there's so many different ways that you can use this technology, especially in the virtual world.
So I believe that will be it's a lot of heavy investments needed to build all these games.
Yeah,
and all this is yes. So for game, it's tons of work for the designers. They will be absolutely excited and happy, and for Unity, right?
Yeah.
But for gambling providers, I think they need to invest heavily in it.
It is a huge project.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to say it is huge, but it's definitely on the roadmap, because people will want to engage with the demographic that is now so used to playing console games and moving along, and it's the next step. It's the next evolution for casino, sports bet gambling.
How you see the interaction with payments in the VR
Well,
era, I would say.
Yeah, well, with payments, and we start going into the payment side of it again. We touched on it a little bit earlier. You're creating a wallet. The wallet has to be funded, so it's got to be funded with some form of currency, and that can be a traditional fiat currency, whether it's coming via a credit card, a debit card, a wallet that's been funded by something else to fund that wallet, whether you're putting your BTC or your Ripple or whatever else into that wallet to convert it into the casino currency, because each casino will have their own currency. You'll end up with your Caesar coin versus your win bet or win pounds, or they'll all have their own currencies, because they won't want to interact unless there's a conglomerate of casino operators that say, okay, we'll all share the same token, the same coin across our platforms and devices. But I doubt that will happen any time soon, because you spend a lot of money to acquire the players, and then you obviously want to retain those players. So, but payments will typically be I can't see it changing that massively from what we have today, because you still need to fund that wallet to create that token. And that traditional funding method, because we've all got to go out there and earn the money, and we get paid, whether we get paid digitally or in fiat currency, it's still got to be put into the wallet in some way, shape or form.
Yeah, I clearly see this trend of cross-channel or multi-channel, because we need to implement for payments on TV, which is ridiculous for me. Sounds right.
Yeah.
So I have to pay on something on TV. But it is reality already. So it's a cross-device, cross-channel.
And it just what will start to happen is, because the actual processing of the payment will become more cost effective. Because you'll start getting into like processing for micropayments, nano payments. So it will just start to bring the payments down, because typically, you're paying anything like for online, anything between sort of like, depending on where you are and whether you're in a regulated jurisdiction or unregulated or grey market, it could be anywhere between sort of like 2.5% to 12%. It just depends where you are, and which jurisdiction you're wagering in. So it's quite expensive.
Absolutely.
Whereas the digitisation or the tokenisation of those payments just makes it that little bit cheaper, and every basis point you shave off is revenue straight to the bottom line to help you with your shareholder and keeping your shareholders happy. Because as I said before, it's a very, very fine line between over-protection, over-regulation, over-compliance to shareholder value.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And there is another trend that many governments now about to present, already presented, a digital currency, right? The digital version of fiat currency that actually can be used, anywhere in the digital interactions, right? So it's also it's already a commodity. I mean, payments, right? So for decades, it's pricing and going down and down and down, and new technologies even provides an opportunity to lower the cost of interactions, as you may say. That one of these things is blockchain. So that's because of it's getting widespread. It's more people are using, more investments in this field. So that's definitely helps to lower the costs.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the trend, And at the moment, the operator providing those games bears the cost, so it's at their expense. So if you can shave a percentage, 1%, 0.5% off, the millions of transactions that go through, that's quite a considerable amount of money.
I wish to thank you, Nick, for coming here, for joining Payments Agenda, and hope that we will continue our conversation later on next developments.
Well, Dennis, thank you very much for inviting me, because it's been a great pleasure to be able to talk openly about what I feel is going to happen within my chosen vertical, which is the gambling vertical, with the advent of progressive technology such as digital. Distributed ledger technology, DLT, blockchain, crypto, piece it all together. We've got something that, encourages players to gamble, but at the same time protects them, and encourages our operators to be a bit more transparent, working with regulators. So, thank you very much for letting me
thank you
get that
for
point
a helpful
across.
conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.